without further ado, I'm going to introduce to the stage this soul, this beautiful human being that I had the opportunity to work with and is still working with this human being. I've only ever heard him raise his voice once, and I was shocked. That's the only time. He never went up. And one time he did it, and I know, okay, something is not right. But it was for a good cause. But this individual came into my life when I started working at Black Cap. For many of you, I am a settlement assistant at Black Cap. And for a while, I could not figure him out, because when Nicole is in the room, everybody knows Nicole is in the room. Because I'm loud, I'm the life of the party, everybody knows, I get everybody going. But he was so quiet, so meek, so humble. Like, you'd not walk off that elevator and think he had a director's position. And over time, I grew to know this individual and understand who this fine gentleman was. And today, it is an honor for me to be here because I see him as a father figure to me. I remember once I did something, I act out of character. And this is when I know that, yes, this man means something to me. So I acted out of character, and I was, so ashamed. Like, I was so ashamed. Like, he spoke to me, and of course we did that part, but I was so ashamed. Like, I was afraid to look in his eyes. I tried to avoid him for the entire day because I was ashamed. And I was just rushing to leave the elevator and, of course, the car, because he's always in the right place at the right time. And he gave me a hug and said to me, it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. And at that moment, he tugged at my heart. He knows who he is because he owes me goat meat, and I told him. It's a wrong thing to promise an only child something because it will haunt you. I pray tonight he dreams to see that ram and make me my goat meat. But without further ado, tonight I want you all to join me and welcome our keynote speaker to front stage, Muhaari.
Wow, that's such an amazing introduction. Nicole, were you introduced? Because Nicole is amazing. I worked with Nicole at Black Cap for a few years, and Nicole brings some energy to the room. She's always energetic and she's fun to work with. You've not met Nicole yet. She's fun to work with. And I'm happy that I'm here tonight. It's an honor to be invited to speak tonight because Ali, I also worked with Ali for a short stint, and this is what this means. And some, to have somebody come in last year and to get where you are now. We came in a few years back, and it takes about 5 years for a new Canadian to settle, to just get grounded. About 5 years before your credit score starts making sense. About 5 years before you can go and apply for an apartment and sort of get into the conversation with the landlord. It takes 5 years, and it has taken these amazing people a year to get here. So it's amazing, it's remarkable. And before I say anything, I want to tell you, you are what we've been waiting for all this time. So this is amazing, and it's a pleasure, it's an honor. I left Black Cap about a few months back. Thought I would leave community work, but it caught up with me. Now I'm working with youth, mental health and youth justice. So I moved a little bit away from working with adults. But I'm still in community. I cannot get away from it. And that's the thing with you, Ali and team. This is work that feeds our soul. And that's why we don't get burnt out. We don't get burnt out. We only get heartbroken. And because the work has a lot of impact in our lives, it impacts us in greater ways. All of us that are doing this work have lived this experience. I'm imagining all of you, if your journey is similar to mine, you've at one point been homeless, you've at one point have to restart your life, reset your life. You at one point had to do a survival job. My survival job was working in a chicken factory, hanging chicken, 80 chicken per minute, and by evening I was completely done. I couldn't eat. I just wanted to sleep on the floor. And that's a point you ask yourself, you came here seeking for a better life. You came here seeking for safety for those of us who are fleeing our country. You came here seeking for all those things. The promise out there was, you're good, you're okay, you're safe, you land at Pearson. And then the challenges start from right there. You start doing huge documents, forms and files and questions. You lay your life bare, your phone is taken, everything about you. I think what you feel at that point is like your dignity is stripped. And then you leave that space, you're like, okay. And then you're told you have to live in a shelter. I was telling somebody that the last time I was in a dorm, in a double-decker bed, was when I was in high school, over 25 years ago. And so just that experience at night and seeing some of those challenges and the mental health issues that come with that, navigating the system, subway, TTC, all these things and the impact they have. I used to tell somebody that sometimes you feel like, okay, this phase of my life is over, and then you realize, oh, getting a work permit doesn't mean that you're resting. It actually now means you have to look for a job. And then they tell you, you don't have Canadian experience. And I came in a system, I'd worked by then, I'd worked for 25 years. I thought when I arrived in Canada that I was over there in terms of my career trajectory. But having to go to do a survival job and then get a work permit, start doing an entry-level job, like really minimum wage job, entry-level job, and then get from there and start introducing people to your education. Because you tell people I'm educated, I have a master's degree, and they say, no, you don't have Canadian experience, we cannot hire you. And you visit Black Cup and you meet with Helen, amazing Helen, and she says, as a black person, as an immigrant, you have to strip all your education down. Do a one-page CV. Most of us come with 25 pages of experience and work and where you've been. And you have to do a one-page for you to trick the scanner to think that you're not educated so that you can get an entry-level job. And that challenge, that journey for all of us has been impactful. The social isolation, the challenge of, being here without a family, the challenge of getting out of the shelter and the only apartment you can get is a basement apartment, no windows, dark, landlord doesn't want to heat the room, and every time you get a space heater, it triggers the lights, and you're there, and you're coming from a warehouse to your basement, back to the warehouse. It becomes quite daunting. And without a social system, without a social support system, without friends, without a family, it becomes quite a challenge. And so that's why I think, it's important to have people who have walked the journey to be in a space where they can support others. Because I think one of the other things we find is some of the social agencies that, say for Black Up and a few others, do not understand our culture, right? They do not understand the challenges, they do not understand the struggle. And most of the times they think, oh, you're a perennial complainer. You're in Canada, you're in social support, right? You should be thankful, but you're like, I'm stressed. I've never faced the type of cold that I'm facing. You know, the first time I came and somebody told me it's gonna be cold, I didn't know what that meant until I was actually going to Wellesley because my shelter was at Parliament and Queen, and I was going to see my social worker, and my phone froze. Like, it was so cold, my phone from back home froze. And I had, you know, those mittens that are made of, you know, I'd come with them from home, so they were pretty much useless. And I cried and I say, what am I doing in this country? So even for those people who had told me, oh, it's going to get cold, oh, you don't know, because I came in April when it was spring, and you know, people kept telling me how cold it would get. So all those things, they're impactful in our lives. And we get to a point where we need a solidarity partner, somebody who can sit there and understand and hear you and understand the journey and understand that statistics show once immigrants, once newcomers, once refugees leave Ontario Works, they don't go back. Because we want to work. We want to contribute meaningfully to the society here. We want to do gainful employment. We want our skill sets to be recognized. That's what we want, and that's why once we leave Ontario Works, we don't go back there unless there is a reason, a big reason. So almost 90-95% of people want to really do well, they want to excel. And so if people get that support, if people get to be heard and listened to, if people get an agency like this that understands where we are coming from and the navigation we have to do, all these hurdles we have to jump every time. Because even after you get your decision, because people are like, okay, once I get a positive decision, for those who are going through the refugee claim, you imagine, oh, things are fine. Then you're like, no, the government abandons you. They're like, here is your positive decision, we don't care about you anymore. Moving on, everything you do, you have to have money. You have to have money to apply for your PR. You have to have money to do everything. You have to have money if you have a family back home to bring them back. And so every single step is a good, so you always celebrate. And then after celebrating, you're feeling like, I'm celebrating, but I'm also realizing that there's another high. Too bad for people who get a negative decision, because equally you're abandoned. Nobody will give you legal aid. You have to have money, you have to work like a donkey to raise money to pay legal fees. And then the process also is brutal. It's brutal, it's mentally taxing. And a lot of times we do not have support for people who are going through that process. And you know, it takes how many years? I met some people who've been on the system for 12 years. You don't have status, you don't have insurance, you don't have nothing. You have to go through life surviving. And all these are people who we are saying are coming here to look for security, to look for safety. And it doesn't matter. You could be an economic immigrant, you could be a refugee, you could be a student, but all the issues are the same. This is the first place when you realize you're black. We didn't know we were black. And people laugh about it, and I'm like, no, we were like, yeah, we are people. And then you're like, you're black, and you're treated different. And you know, Canadian life is so interesting because it's not in your face. Racism is not in your face, it's structural. People set systems in such a way that you will never excel. Your SIN number starts with a 9. Nobody will give you a meaningful job as long as you have a 9, because it says you're temporary. Even when they give you a credit card, they give you $300, which will not do anything for you, to not build your credit, because your SIN starts with a 9. And you're like, what structure is that? What system is that? That does not allow me to work, does not allow me to get paid like the other people. If I want to go to school, I'm told you can only do this much. And sometimes I look at the courses they allow us to do. There are courses that tell you, just do enough to be a laborer, but don't do anything beyond that, you know? And so you tell, okay, you want laborers, I want to do that. And even when people say, oh, you're taking our jobs away, you're like, no, we are doing the jobs you don't want to do. But we would also want to do good jobs. When I came to this country, worked in public health for years, I told the family that hosted me, I told them, you know, I want to go back to what I was doing. And every person I've met says the same thing. I want to go back to what I was doing, I want to do better, I want to do my job, I want to go back to my career. I was an accountant. I mean, you've met doctors driving cabs, right? you've met, people with PhDs in the warehouse, and it's because even to do the exam itself, it's inhibited. So I said that, I thought, and they laughed at me. The madam actually told me, this is what she said in my language. She said, who do you think you are? My son here is a PR, and he's working in a warehouse. Muhaari, who do you think you are? And I said, I'm going to do things different. And perhaps this is something I can tell you tonight. Well, if you want to be a PSW, well and good. If you want to be a truck driver, well and good, if that's what you want. But if you want to be something else, you can also be something else. It's just that the journey and the trajectory will take you a little bit longer. Going through WES, validating your papers, updating your certificates. I used to do everything that was offered. CPR, first aid, WMS, anything that is offered. Some of these things you've done before. You will sit in a class and they'll teach you things you've done before, but you're only doing that to show that you have some Canadian experience. You volunteer for everything, Dixon Hall, Black Cap, 519, everywhere that there is a volunteership. In fact, one time we used to come from MCC to, I think on a Wednesday, MCC, then go to 519, then we would do volunteering the entire week. That's because you want to show you have Canadian experience and to get some of those things that are given. So it's not all complaints. There are things, there are tools, there are resources that we can use. I guess what I could ask Ali and team is then to help us and to help people who do not have some of these resources, connect them, help them navigate some of these resources so that they can have a faster process. And I keep saying, my friend Sam, because we spent 4 years before anything could start moving, before we could even get our papers. But now I see people coming, and within 6 months, which is a very short time, within 6 months, you have a decision for those who are refugees. And that's good and bad in a way. It's good because then you don't have to wait through the system. It's bad because you don't have any resources within 6 months. You've not started working. You don't know how to get a house. You don't know how to pay for the loan, for the legal fees, for whatever eventuality comes. It becomes such a challenge. So we need to start thinking about this issue of people coming, the process is faster, but not given. So it's to thank you so much, to encourage you, and to say to everyone else, let's support this dream, let's support this vision, and hopefully next year, a time like this, we'll be here celebrating other milestones. So thank you very much.
There's a choice we're making. We're sharing our own lives. It's true, like a brighter day, just you and me.
We met at Peter Street. Yes, at the street, he says. He seems pretty intentional with his words and presents himself as options now. Options for black development. Options for black development. Because again, he's been to the streets. He knows the way of the streets and the street dynamic. He has seen injustice and racism. He's seen them walk nude on the streets, and he knows the loopholes in the system and seeks to fix them.
Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you can remember a living, make a better place for you and for me.
Wait, now I remember. He looks nothing like the boy I saw sleep on the streets. See, we aren't defined by our experiences. The system is fashioned against black skin, but we rise. We can't be ignored because of what we bring to the table. And finally, someone sees that. They label us angry because they're afraid of how much potential we possess. Today, thanks to Center for Black Development Options, we join as one to fix each other's crowns and push to where we belong.
You make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people down there, if you care enough for a living, make it a better place for you and for me.
We are black. We are unity. We are a force.